YouTube. Yeah, I will talk about The Walking Dead season finale of season 6, even though I didn't even watch it. Like, majority of my Walking Dead family, screw the quotations, they are my family. We're not blood related or related by marriage, but they're still my Walking Dead family. I heard from them because majority of them are on the East Coast, while at least me and at least one other are West. But, I heard that, that cliffhanger at the end made a lot of people pissed. So they said, they warned me about it, and I decided not to watch it because of it. I wasn't going to watch it in general because I was kind of afraid of who was going to die. So, the fact that they told me about the cliffhanger kind of solidated my, my resolve. But anyway, this is what I got the information from them, even though I didn't watch it. I did get information from them. So, according to them, Rick and the group are trying to get Maggie to Hilltop for medical attention because apparently in the last episode, which I did see, something's wrong with Maggie. And, Enid was there when it happened. Enid was with Maggie in the house, and Maggie started having pains in her stomach, and she ended up falling down and all that stuff. Well, not really falling down, but she braced herself down. She, I wouldn't say she was against a wall. She was, against the countertop, and she just slid down because of the pain. But anyway, Rick and the group are trying to get Maggie to Hilltop for medical attention. But apparently, while they're doing that, they find out that all the routes to Hilltop were blocked off by saviors. So, yeah, that sucks, because if they don't get Maggie help, she could die, the baby could die, could be Walker baby, Walker Maggie, or both. I don't know. But, in the meantime, Morgan manages to rescue Carol from a savior, because remember that savior remember those group of saviors that cornered Carol when she took the car? And, she killed most of them, but one of them ended up being alive, and ended up following the trail of, following a trail to get to get to Carol. Apparently that savior caught up to Carol, I think. And, apparently a savior caught up to Carol. I'm only guessing it's the same savior that, survived the shooting that Carol had. Because, remember when Carol shot that little group of saviors that cornered her, she shot them all and one survived. So I'm only guessing the savior that Morgan rescues Carol from is the same savior that followed her. But anyway, Morgan rescues Carol from the savior that was following her, and in the meantime, they encounter... I'm not sure if it was Morgan or both Morgan and Carol, but they encounter... There's another encounter with another survivor group. After Morgan saves Carol from the savior, there's an encounter with another savior group when that happens. And anyway, back to Rick and the group with Maggie. While time is running out because of Maggie, Eugene volunteers to become bait, which I think is a very cool thing about Eugene. Eugene has seriously been stepping up in these last couple episodes, biting Dwight's hoo-ha in that one episode. That was freaking hilarious. Eugene wanting to step up against, Abraham when they were both together. He wanted to kill the Metal Walker. Him finding that little facility to make their own bullets. Him biting Dwight's manhood. Eugene is really stepping up his game, and I really love that. And he steps it up even more by volunteering to be bait to distract the saviors. So, Eugene's all taking the RV. Apparently, I heard Eugene takes the RV and, goes off to become bait to distract the saviors while the rest of the group tries to get Maggie to Hilltop through the woods by foot. So, instead of, using a vehicle, Eugene is the one using the vehicle so he could try to distract the saviors while the others get Maggie on foot through the woods to try to get to Hilltop. However, unfortunately, they end up being surrounded by the saviors, Eugene included. Unfortunately, he was bait, so the saviors got Eugene regardless, apparently, and they end up being surrounded by the saviors and captured, Eugene included, and unfortunately Maggie included. As we all know, the only people that are not there in that group being surrounded by saviors is Morgan and Carol, so they're safe, right? For what we know, they are safe. But everyone else, Maggie, Rick, Eugene, and the rest of the group included, like Daryl, Glenn, and Michonne, and even Carl, they're all captured by the saviors. the Saviors apparently disarm Rick's group, and then they line them up and kneel them down. So basically, Rick's group, they're on their knees, lined up in a row, surrounded by Saviors. No weapons, no nothing. And, this is where it gets crazy, because we all knew this was going to happen. Negan finally appears. The real deal Negan shows up and introduces himself to the entire group. And from what I heard, that he tells Rick, since, Rick's the leader, he's saying to Rick, he's unhappy with Rick for killing all his men. Well, not all his men, but a good chunk of his men. And, he's all telling Rick and the group, you know what, your group, from now on, you work for me. And all of your supplies, meaning Alexandria's supplies, will now belong to the Saviors. And, despite, just warning them, pretty much introducing himself and telling them, you work for me now, he wants to send a message to Rick and his group and pretty much the rest of Alexandria, as well as punish them, you gotta keep them in line. That's what he does with every other group. He did that to Hilltop, remember that. So, Negan's like, in order to punish and send a message to Rick and his group and all of Alexandria, Negan decides to bludgeon one of Rick's members of the group to death with his baseball bat, who we all know is Lucille! Because it's a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. Remember that in the comics, guys? The famous Lucille finally makes an appearance just like Negan. And we all knew this was coming. We all knew in the season finale that not only is Negan and his lovely bat Lucille will finally make their debut, we knew that Negan was going to bludgeon one of the members to death. And it sucks because, Glenn, Maggie, Rick, Carl, Michonne, Daryl, Sasha, Abraham, Eugene, Aaron, and I think Rosita was also there, I'm not sure. But, a good chunk of them are there, including Carl, who just lost an eye, guys. But anyway, we all knew Negan and his famous bat Lucille was going to make an appearance. We all knew he was going to use Lucille to, bludgeon one of the members to death. And everybody knows in the comics that the unfortunate victim was Glenn in the comics. But, Negan, from what I heard, taunts the captives because he's unable to choose who to bludgeon. So he ends up taunting all the captives, playing Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo with his stupid bat. And then before, unfortunately, landing on the target, unfortunately for us, while he's doing the Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo thing, when his bat finally lands on the target, we don't see who it is because the camera pretty much pans to first-person point of view. So literally, the camera is the point of view of the victim. So basically, a lot of people were making fun of this. It's like, holy crap, they're gonna kill the cameraman! That's what a lot of people were laughing about. It's like, Negan killed the cameraman, guys! Because it's literally the cameraman's point of view. So, after Negan does his all eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then he lands finally on his target, the camera angle changes to the unknown victim's point of view. So it's like a first-person point of view. And then Negan proceeds to beat the crap out of that person. We don't know who it is because the camera's not showing who it is. It's just showing that victim's point of view. They're not even showing the other members of Rick's group in the camera because if they showed anybody else around the victim, then we would immediately... If they showed anyone else from Rick's group, anyone that wasn't beaten up by Negan, we automatically know that they're safe, right? So naturally, they changed the camera view to first person, not only so we don't know who is the one getting beaten up, but also we don't know who's safe. Because all you see is Negan, Lucille, bam! You don't see anybody else. Well, obviously you see Negan, Lucille, and maybe the Saviors, but you don't see anybody from Rick's group from that point of view at all. So, Negan proceeds to beat the crap out of this unknown victim. And he also states to his men, if anybody like Rick or anyone else tries to stop him, to cut out Carl's remaining eye and feed it to Rick if anyone tries to stop him. So that is actually a very interesting clue. Because, like I said, it changes to a first-person point of view, so we don't know who the victim is. But at the same time, we don't know who's safe because we don't see anyone else from Rick's group. The fact that Negan said, if anyone tries to stop him, cut out Carl's other eye and feed it to Rick if anyone tries to stop him, pretty much gives us a very good hint that the fact that Carl and Rick are most likely safe. How I'm saying this is because why would Negan say to cut Carl's remaining eye and feed it to Rick if anyone tries to stop him if Rick and Carl are the victims? If Carl was the one being beaten to death by Lucille, then he wouldn't say to cut out Carl's other eye. Because what's the point? He's beating the crap out of Carl. You know what I mean? So the fact that he said, if anyone stops us, cut out Carl's remaining eye, that gives us a good hint that Carl is not the one that he is beating up with Lucille. Because why would you say that if Carl's the one getting beaten up? I mean, why say take out his eye if someone tries to stop me if Carl's the one being beaten up? You know what I mean? So obviously Carl is not a victim. That's in my opinion. I think Carl is safe only because Negan said to... Just because Negan told his men to cut Carl's eye out if anyone tried to stop him. Which means Carl is not the one being beaten up by Negan and Lucille. Also, I think Rick is also safe. Mainly because, again, just like he said, cut out Carl's other eye and feed it to Rick. Why would he want someone in his group to cut out Carl's eye and feed it to Rick if they try to stop him if Rick was being beaten up? There's no point to feeding his son's eye if you're beating him up, you know what I mean? So that's why, in my honest opinion, because of what Negan said about cutting Carl's eye out and feeding it to Rick, I think both Carl and Rick Grimes are both safe from Negan and Lucille. And we can't cut out the possibility of Glenn because in the comics we all know Glenn was the victim of Negan and Lucille, the beating in the comics. So Glenn, there's a good chance it could be Glenn. They still could have kept the whole Glenn dies by Negan storyline. But, who knows? They could totally switch it up on us. But I honestly don't think, in my honest opinion, I know for a fact that Carl and, in my opinion, I know for a fact Rick and Carl are safe because of what Negan said. And I don't think that they would kill Eugene. Quite honestly, I don't know if they would. I know that most likely the victim has got to be someone that's been on The Walking Dead for a very long time. Perhaps even longer than Eugene, Rosita, and Abraham. That's in my honest opinion. Because, they said this death was a big one. And that it was going to be like jaw-dropper despite the fact that the episode ended on a cliffhanger. Which means it could be Glenn, just like in the comics. Or, unfortunately, it could be Daryl, because Daryl's been there since the beginning. It's obviously not Carol or Morgan, because they're not even there. So it could be Daryl because, you know, Glenn and Daryl have been there since the beginning, just like Rick and Carl. So, it could be Daryl. I don't want it to be, but it could be because he's been there since the beginning. But you'll never know. They could switch it up. It could be Abraham or Sasha. Some people think it might be one of them. And hell, I'm hoping and praying, but some people might think it's Maggie. Because, you know, she is having some baby problems. And, you know, Negan might be like, oh, she's already... Negan might naturally assume that Maggie was going to die anyway because of her condition already with the baby. So, you'll never know. They could have killed Maggie probably as a mercy killing. You know what I mean? So, it could be Glenn like the comics, it could be Daryl, or it could even be Maggie. But in my honest opinion, I know for a fact, we all know Carol and Morgan are safe because they're not there. And in my honest opinion, I think both Grimes, Rick and Carl are safe because of what Negan said. So anyway, that is my reaction rant to the season finale of Season 6 of The Walking Dead, Last Day on Earth. And I hope you enjoyed it. Bye, guys.